Bom dia a todos.
E António?
Olá, bom dia.
Bom dia.
Olá, Euclides, viva, bom dia.
Bom dia.
Bom dia, Cláudio.
Bom dia. Good morning to all. I'm Euclides Major. Welcome to the kickoff event of CheckIn Open Tourism Innovation Program, an event organized by the Center for Entrepreneurship at Nova School of Business and Economics. At Nova SBE, we are actively building and supporting the entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. We would of course prefer to host this event in person at our beautiful campus with these amazing views. Given the context, it wasn't possible for this kickoff event, but we hope that the demo day happening on June 17th will be there. I would like to invite you all to learn more about what we're doing at the Center for Entrepreneurship and share with you details on our incubation program. There are many advantages, possibilities to have virtual incubation, and from September onwards, a physical incubation program. We'll share more details on these over the next few weeks. Let me also quickly introduce the team that is making this event possible and say a big thank you to all of them, Antonio, Joana, Mariana, and Gonçalo. With this flagship event in the tourism sector, we aim to unlock the collaboration between 17 tourism SMEs, 21 international startups, and the various stakeholders of the ecosystem. This week, we have more than 140 meetings happening, and we couldn't be more excited. And don't forget the incredible networking opportunities throughout this program. As we're starting to come out of this pandemic, now is the time to act and to prepare for the disruptions brought by the new reality. To officially start this program and welcome you all, we'll hear now from Nova SBE Dean, Professor Daniel Traça.
Daniel, peço que estás em mute.
Euclides, hi. I hope this is better. It's the proverbial failure of the Zoom time and of the Teams time is that we always start speaking to ourselves. But I hope that this time technology is operational. Anyway, thank you, Euclides, and it's great to be here and welcome you to this event. Welcome all those that are watching, but of course, we'll also welcome the Secretary of State and Sergio Guerrero, who are going to be here opening this session with me. And thank you very much, especially to the Secretary of State, for taking the time to come here and spend a little bit of time with us. It's great to be here working on opening an event that engages Nova with the tourism sector. Tourism has been the key to the rebirth of Portugal, let's put it like this. We're back on the map, we're back in the world as a great tourist hub, attracting lots of people from all around the world and providing them with a great time. And it makes a lot of sense. What makes tourism work is what we are strong at. We have a great territory, a great people, a welcoming people, an hospitable people, a great country, beautiful and filled with great climate. And these are advantages that are not as easily replicable, especially in a European context. So I do believe that not only has tourism been the driver of the rebirth of the country, but it will for quite a bit of time remain a strong focus of growth for our country. And for this, growth is about numbers, growth is about GDP, but honestly, growth is about firms. It's about people finding jobs, it's about people providing great service, providing a great experience. And this has to be the core challenge for our nation. And it's wonderful to have the Secretary of State here because she has a tremendous role to play in the future of our nation. A strong, resilient, high-quality tourist industry will be a fundamental force in getting our country into the future. But for this, lots of work has to be done. Tourism has not been traditionally greatly supported in the past. In the past few years, it has, and the results are here to show, but we need to go further. And we need to go further in an alliance that involves the government, that involves the unions, that involves business, that honestly involves the entire country to create an ecosystem for tourism that is stronger, that grows, that internationalizes, that builds up its human resources, that attracts the best talent in Portugal, and above all, that is able to innovate, to bring new ideas, new products, new services, and with this, create new markets. And this is honestly where we need to focus on. Business companies in Portugal need to move from almost a survival mode where we're all trying to make ends meet. They don't have a vision. They don't, and actually altogether transform themselves. In the past, we've had a very divided sector, a sector where on the one hand, you have a few companies that are really transforming themselves, looking into the future, innovating, but also where many other firms are basically just surviving, authentic zombies, and not able to actually look forward into the future. And we actually have to work harder to get a sector that is more visionary, more ambitious, and wants to leave a footprint in the world. And for this, as I said, we need three key ingredients: talent, innovation, and excellence in service. And this transformation requires partners. And the main point here of this event is that Nova wants to be a partner of the tourism sector. Nova wants to help the transformation of the tourist sector in Portugal into a sector for the future, with the future, and for the future of Portugal. Several initiatives have been ongoing. This event is only one of several which have already happened. It's an event that is fostered by our ambition to play a role in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. Euclid just told you of how many things have happened, are happening, and many more that will happen. The Entrepreneurship Hub has just rejoined with Claudio Haddad, the Haddad Foundation, to create a major center for entrepreneurship, the Haddad Center for Entrepreneurship, will have a fundamental role to play in fostering entrepreneurship in Portugal and entrepreneurship of young people in Portugal. And also trying to bring also foreign companies, foreign startups to actually incubate in our campus. We believe that at Nova, we will have a fundamental role to play on innovation and entrepreneurship, especially young entrepreneurship, with the support of the Haddad Foundation, and that we will make a difference. And some of that difference, for sure, will be in the tourism sector. Also because, at the same time, we have built the Westminster Institute for Tourism and Hospitality, a partnership with the Westminster Hospitality Group from Canada, which will make us a leader in developing talent for the future of tourism in Portugal and around the world, with multiple initiatives on the talent side, but of course, with a role to play also on the tourism and innovation side. So altogether, these two initiatives, the Haddad Center for Entrepreneurship, Future to Come, and the Westminster Institute, and let me also make the point that I know Claudio Haddad is staying with us, and so I want to extend to him a big word of appreciation for his engagement with the school, which has been around for a long time, but now commits to this partnership on the area of entrepreneurship. But as I was saying, with the Center for Entrepreneurship and the Westminster Institute, I believe we can make a big difference in the future of tourism and make tourism a great sector for the future of Portugal and of the Portuguese. But let's be honest, the times are very challenging. Tourism has been a fundamental victim of this pandemic. Despite the government's efforts, the sector is suffering. And by the way, we have a sector which is now facing a challenge for its beautiful past in the past few years, a very challenging present, and a very, I guess I was going to repeat the word, I didn't want to repeat the word challenging, but I'll have to, because it's a challenging present and a challenging future. It is a challenging present because, as I said, the pandemic has very, very much victimized the sector. Companies are in a very difficult financial situation, need to get ready to open up so that they can regain their future, and they need support for this. So it's very important that support to this sector remains. But the challenge for the sector is even bigger because not only they have to think about the near future, opening up, the present basically opening up over the summer, making sure that they can pay their salaries, but they are facing the biggest disruption because what we are facing on this pandemic, the acceleration of digital transformation that this pandemic has brought about, will have a dramatic effect on the future of tourism. So companies in this sector in Portugal must think about the present and must think at the same time in the present of opening up, of regaining breathing again, because they haven't been able to breathing again almost. And at the same time, they have to keep an eye on their future because the digital disruption coming, the kind of services that are going to be requested, the kind of interface with clients that are going to come up because of the impact of the digital acceleration from the pandemic will fundamentally change the sector. So it is a sector that at the same time faces tremendous challenge and tremendous opportunities. These are wonderful sectors for us to be in. These are wonderful sectors for those that venture and want to innovate and want to transform and want to disrupt. And for all those that have a desire to make the future change, I promise you that Nova SB will be here to support the sector and to support the companies and the startups and all those that believe that in Portugal, in tourism, there's a difference to be made. Thank you very much and have a great event. And let's make tourism a force for the future of Portugal and of the Portuguese. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Daniel. Now, I would like to welcome Sergio Guerreiro, the Executive Director of the Twestment Institute.
Probably not. So you probably can see my presentation right now. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting us to participate in this session. I have the opportunity also to present our latest startup at Nova SB, which is a project with one and a half years, and well, a great challenge, and I'm proud to present it. Well, a short agenda for less than 10 minutes presentation, present you a little bit what is the Westminster Institute of Tourism and Hospitality that Daniel just mentioned, a little bit about our mission and our vision at Nova and the portfolio that we've developed and we are developing, the partners, because everything is about partnership, the partners where we're working with, and finally, the Westminster Hospitality Hall that hopefully next year, elective year, we can use it for being our incubator for leveraging innovation in the sector. Well, as Daniel mentioned, the Westminster Institute of Tourism and Hospitality is a partnership between Nova SB and the Westminster Hospitality Group, which has a clear objective to create an international institute in the area of tourism and hospitality that basically can leverage and can increase the training and expertise in the areas of management in the tourism sector, but at the same time, and I believe this is one of the key elements of our project, is also to use the expertise and the knowledge of the hospitality sector to improve visitor experience and client experience through all the services sector. Our partner, as Daniel mentioned, has started in Canada 40 years ago, and today is one of the largest owners and operators in the hospitality world, running and owning more than 400 hotels worldwide, and representing, I would say, some of the best brands all over the world. So I would say a huge experience from our partner, but also a sense of giving back, and especially giving back to tourism development and to Africa in particular as one of the main objectives of this project. Our mission as an institute is to inspire and support hospitality and service management leadership and being passionate for innovation and for customer experience. And here is putting the customer at the core of everything that we do at Nova. Our vision, obviously, is to it's a bit of a startup. You can see books of startups has been our inspiration. We want to be a leading international institute in this area, and being known as inspiring and transforming experience management in all services industries. We develop our work through 4 big pillars. First of all, where we started in the pre-experience area, we've designed and is already working an area of expertise in hospitality and service management in our master in management. And with all the students that participate in our programs in pre-experience, they benefit from an innovation and entrepreneurship program that takes them all through all the course. So in the end of their course, they have a master in management with a strong skills in management. They have a really oriented focus on hospitality and service management, and they are also entrepreneurs ready to develop their ideas and their projects. The second pillar where we're working right now, and it's going to be public, I would say, next week, so you'll be the first ones to know about this. We are launching executive education programs, and we are launching an hospitality and leadership advanced certificate. And this will go with an extended offer of executive education programs. The third pillar, thinking about the public sector and thinking about specifically also in Africa, we want to develop courses in the area of policy, and we will establish with UNWTO a data center for Africa in our campus. And the final pillar will be the knowledge dissemination. We've been working since the last year with several partners. Together with all these initiatives, we have the pleasure to partner with the Nova SBE Entrepreneurship Hub, and here is another role of the Westminster Institute at Nova, which is leverage the expertise and the work that all areas of Nova develop. So bring all that excellence and put it in favor of the tourism sector as a function. So a little bit here what we're doing. We're already launched the area of expertise. Next year, we're going to have a course in international tourism policy in our master in international development and public policy. We've already have students working in our innovation program. In terms of advanced education, executive education, we are partnering with several partners. In next April, we're going to have a course on tourism strategy in times of disruption. That's why we are living here with PwC and Singularity University. We're going to have courses on digital transformation, on innovation. We have a strong partnership with the Pestana Hotel Group in the area of business intelligence, of digital marketing and revenue management. We have a partnership with the École Hôtelière de Lausanne in the area of creating service excellence through hospitality. And here we count with teachers from Lausanne. And we also will have courses on leadership and asset management. So covering, I would say, most of the areas needed for the rebirth, I would say, the reset of the tourism sector after this tremendous crisis. Finally, jump already on this, we're going to have, and we want to position also Nova as a place of thinking and brainstorming on the tourism sector. So we plan to have with Cascais Tourism Association annually an annual conference where you can discuss the latest trends and the biggest challenges that we have in our sector. In terms of partners, this has been a great journey in the last 1.5 years. We've managed to have the partnership of Turismo Portugal at hotel schools, where we connect with our program. We have Associação Turismo de Cascais. We already developed a journey of 1 month of innovation pitches, which starts from Silicon Valley. We have a partnership with the Innovate Israel, which is partnering with us in our innovation programs and international competitions. I've mentioned already Lausanne and PwC. We are already affiliate members of UNWTO, and we are designing with them the data center for Africa and also international training in terms of policy. We have Grupo Pestana and we have Singularity University as our current partners. We are already extending these negotiations to to others, but I believe it's one of our value propositions. Do it with the industry and for the industry. And by next year, this beautiful building here, the Westminster Hospitality Hall, will be transformed in, I would say, the centrality and the transformation, also the experience at Nova Campus, and also a place where we can incubate and transform the hospitality culture within our partners' business. And this is a team, it's all about team, and I'm proud to present my team, Marta Sousa Pires and Susana Talaya, designing this challenge with me, and thank you very much. We're more than welcome to follow the program. We'll work with you within these days, and looking forward for the best solutions. Count on us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sergio. Now I will welcome the Secretary of State for Tourism, Rita Marques. The stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me. Yes. Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me. I hope that, I hope the stage was mine, because it would mean that we would be together. It's not the case. I hope in June, July, we can be together in the checkout phase of this check-in program. So I would like first to thank this very kind invitation of Nova, and congratulate, of course, Nova for the hard work that has been developing as far as tourism is concerned. This is only an example. This program, the check-in program, is just an example of the many initiatives that Nova has been leading and helping the tourism sector in these challenging times. So I would like very much to greet Danielle and all the team members, Euclid, and all the team members for this very nice contribution to the tourism sector. Without you, I think we could not make it. We will not make it. So thank you so much. I would like also to greet Turismo de Portugal. We have here with us Sergio, but I also saw Cristina Salsinha and many others. I have the pleasure to work with an amazing team. Sergio was mentioning the importance of having a team helping us materializing our dreams, and I have the pleasure to have also always with me Turismo de Portugal. So they have been doing a great job in the area of innovation and well beyond. So I greet them and thank them for their huge support. And of course, I greet all other participants that are attending this session. Danielle put it in the right way. So we cannot do it without our partners. And so I greet all the startups, all the mentors, professors, and I like to thank in a very particular way all those partners that have accepted to participate in this program. I'm sure with their participation, their contribution, their insights, all the projects of the startups, of these startups will be, will reach higher levels of development and will have higher probability to succeed in the market. I hope this can happen. Well, I will like to highlight that this check-in program is one of the many programs that we do have financed by the Fostering Innovation Tourism Program. So check-in is one of the 16 acceleration programs financed by the Turismo of Portugal. And this event, today we are pretty much celebrating the check-in program's kickoff. So this is the first day of a very intensive program, I believe 10 weeks of program, in which several startups will have to develop and have to work with each other and have to have to materialize their dreams. And I know that it will be really amazing. We'll have more than 10 national startups, pretty much 10 international startups that are going to work together in order to in a very large array of topics, including customer service platforms, revenue management, peer-to-peer marketplaces, labor productivity tools. So many amazing solutions that will surely contribute to a higher level of innovation in our ecosystem. But I had several hats in my life, and one of them was, in fact, as a VC. So I know that operating a startup can be a lonely and challenging task, and there is why an accelerated program can really help. So I urge you to work with us, with all the mentors in this acceleration program. I'm sure that you'll get all the support from the mentors, from the sponsors, besides emotional support, and I guess that you'll need it. I guess that this program will really provide the experience, the knowledge, the direction that you need, and you'll be supported along the way. So this is an amazing trip, amazing journey, and I guess that at the end of the day, in 10 weeks, you'll be a little bit closer to the dream that you have, to materializing the dream that you have. So I have three quick messages, or three main ideas that I would like very much to leave with you. First, and Danielle mentioned it already, tourism, we need to survive, it's true. We are living challenging times, but we aim not only to survive, that's too little for our ambition. We need to lead there. We need to be champions along the way. And in order to achieve that, Portugal, in order to achieve that, we need to promote innovation along all the value chain. And this is really important for us. And that's why we have been stimulating ideation, acceleration programs in order to foster this innovation, disruption innovation along all the value chain. And so my first idea that I would like to leave with you is that we really need to promote innovation along all value chains, especially in these challenging times, uncertain times as well. So, and that's why we've been tightening together with Nova and other partners, providing financial incentives so companies can be driven to adopt innovations. We do have a specific partnership with a couple of venture capital companies, and I saw at the beginning Portugal Ventures. They are with us today, and so we'll really rely on a set of actors that together with us and that together with you drive this ambition. We would like to drive this ambition in the tourism sector for sure. Second, innovation comes with internationalization. So we really need to be international in our mindset, and the innovation ecosystem doesn't make any sense if we are, inside our borders. So fostering Portugal as a hub of innovation in the sector is really a priority. And this is important because you all know that we do have, very nice beaches, a very nice climate, and we do know that we've been winning prizes and recognitions all over the world. But we don't want just to have these prizes. We want to lead the way. We want to be a leader of innovation in tourism worldwide, a place to visit, but also a place to work, to do business, and to foster innovation. And I really believe that Portugal has all the potential to become a leading exporter of innovations, technologies related to tourism. And that's why we have been also very active with Nest. Nest is our innovation hub for tourism. And And with these all acceleration programs, all these acceleration programs will also help us to achieve this huge ambition that we have. We also have been working very closely with the UNWTO, that's the United Nations World Tourism Organization, on the field of innovation. And soon we'll have very good news from this partnership that will, of course, confirm that we are on the right track to promote Portugal as a leader in innovation in tourism sector. Third, but not the least, I would like to highlight, and I guess that you already know this, that this innovation is not an end in itself. So we must translate into economic, social, environment also. We have to translate this innovation in economic, social, and environment impacts, benefits for companies, for society in general. And this is pretty much our role. So we need to succeed. We need to not to survive. We need to succeed and to leader. But we need to do that in order to generate a huge impact, a positive impact, not only in the economic sector, in the economics as a whole, but also in the social and environmental dimensions. And this is really important because tourism comes with a purpose. For a better tourism, for a better planet. So we need to consider ourselves a kind of a privileges, because we do know that in order to support a better tourism strategy, we also need to be advocating a tourism with purpose, and contributing for a better planet, and to leave a nice footprint for the next generations, for sure. So I'm almost done. I need to sum up, and please allow me to direct my final words to the 15 startups and their teams, and through them to all the entrepreneurs from the tourism ecosystem that they have been helping a lot in these challenging times. Thank you so much, entrepreneurs. All the entrepreneurs, for believing in tourism. We need your inspiration. We need your energy in order to recover fast and in order to build the tourism of the future. I know that responsibility is huge, but I'm pretty much confident that you have all that is needed in order to achieve that. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to show you a quick overview of the program in a while, but first we still have some time for Q&A. So please, now I would like to hear from your side some questions for Danielle, for Sergio, for the Secretary of State Rita. Don't be shy.
António.
Bom dia. Good morning, João.
Hi, how are you? I would like to first congratulate everybody, and second, probably the $1 million question, and would be to Rita. Hi Rita, good morning. How are you seeing the evolution, and if you could give some kind of clearance or image for the ones that are operating already in tourism? When do you believe actually we'll have group immunity, or things could get slightly normal? Well, I told it's $1 million question, so thank you.
I would love to answer that in a positive way. So there's a lot of uncertainty, as we can all imagine. But I guess that, so the vaccination rollout is progressing rapidly all over the world, especially in Europe. Not as rapidly as we all would all wish, but still it's evolving. And with this recent news from the Commission related with the Digital Green Pass, I guess that, we are moving forward in a very determined way. So There is a lot of uncertainty, as I was saying, but still, I guess that from June, July, we'll have the chance to host again some holiday makers, not only in Portugal, from Portugal, but also from Europe, from Europe, especially from not distant geographies, from these countries that are pretty much near from Portugal. Those that are more far away, maybe they have to wait a little bit more. Notwithstanding, I guess that, you know, confidence is increasing. And even yesterday, I was talking to a couple of partners, our partners, some partners, business partners, and they were saying that as soon as people get a positive message, they immediately start to book. And so this is going to be very rapid. So I guess that's going to be very, very, very fast, because people, all of us, need to rest from these confinement measures. We need to seek for freedom, and to as soon as we can have the chance, I guess that's a couple of us will try to book our holidays. So it's going to be very fast. I guess that's going to be very fast. And as I was saying, as soon as there is a positive messages, the bookings rapidly pop up immediately. So we have to be ready. And that's why we have been, you know, trying to preserve all the jobs and all the companies, because if we don't have the companies, if we don't have the jobs, the workers, we can't resume tourism, we can't resume traveling. Some of us won't survive, especially those companies that were in a challenging situation before the pandemic. And that's very, very important for all of us to introduce new blood into the ecosystem. And that's why it's also very important to support innovation, even throughout these challenging times.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, João. Thank you so much, Rita. More questions in the audience, please.
Hello. First, I would like to congratulate Entrepreneurship for this initiative, and Rita for her presentation. And I have another difficult question for Rita. Yesterday, the UK just announced that they would fine their citizens if they travel abroad until July. So this is a big hit, especially for hospitality. And do you think that will happen with other countries? What is the direction that you can give us? I know that it's been very recent, so I'm not expecting a straight answer, but give us some feedback on that, and
very well.
Hopefully it will be good.
You know, we are living challenging times. It's already mentioned. It has been already mentioned. Not only because of the pandemic, but also because of the fake news. Yes, it's true that the British government has approved a couple of new rules that define pretty much that there will be a fine if people go on holidays before May 17. So the process of opening up the market in the UK is already known. It has already been published. And what we know up to now is that in May 17, British holidaymakers can have holidays abroad. They can book their holidays abroad. This information is going to be confirmed on April the 12th. So in April the 12th, the government is going to release or publish a new study that will confirm or not this date of May 17. So it's not true that people cannot get out in June or as from May 17. So it's not decided yet. And that's why I mentioned the fake news. So we've been in contact, pretty close with the British government. The British market is very important to all of us. It's the biggest market that we have here in Portugal, although I have to recognize that in recent years we have been, not relying not so much in the British market. So the dependence has been, being reduced. during the last couple of years. Notwithstanding, is still a very important market to us, and it's the biggest market, as I was saying. So facts, let's go to the facts. So on May 17, the government, in principle, will allow people to get out and to have holidays abroad. This is going to be confirmed on April 12th. Till then, there is a fine, and it's already mentioned, a fine for those that don't comply with the rules. So we need to be patient, we need to be resilient, we need to be also optimistic, we need to continue to comply with the rules here in Portugal, because of course the situation can evolve in a positive way if all the rules are complied, and if our situation, epidemiological situation, remains stable. And that's the best sign that we can give to other markets, to other countries that would like very much to book their holidays in Portugal.
Thank you again for your question, Antonio, and also for your reply, Rita. Last one, we have room for the last question. Who would like to come to the front and ask something to the three welcoming?
Hey.
Yes?
Hi, Antonio. Hello, Antonio. It's Lionel. How are you?
Hi, Lionel. How are you? Good. Go ahead.
Perfect. I would like to ask a question to Danielle. How was Nova being dealing with this context? What do you expect to change in this after this pandemic, all this situation that we are living?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's been a very challenging year for us, as it has been for so many. I guess the most important thing is there are two times here. There's a time to deal with the pandemic, and then there's a time to deal with the long-term impact of what's going to come after the pandemic. So, of course, the time we're dealing with the pandemic is almost coming to an end, and I don't want to spend too much time on that. Just to let you know that our main concern has been, of course, with our students, with their health, but making sure that their experience was as little impacted as possible. So we remained on campus, we stayed on campus for as much as we could, preserving all the health standards. And I think we've done a good job. Students on campus felt they were safe and felt that they were learning. And that was a very good thing. And for that reason, it's been working competitively because we've been attracting more and more foreign students. Our number of applications has grown 30% last year, and that's 30% this year. And so we're very happy with not just with the way our students have been feeling, but with how it has projected the image of Nova to the rest of the world and the consequences that it has for these students. I just found out actually yesterday a great story, which is some of our students, some of our foreign students that were here, once we got into confinement, they actually stopped renting a place in Portugal, in Lisbon, and started renting a place in Madeira. And many of them have actually moved to Madeira to have online lessons from Madeira, just to tell you how much the activity moves here. Because apparently confinement there is not as severe as here, so they've moved to Madeira, and instead of just going back, they've actually doing online from there. It just shows you what the world is about these days. And this brings me to the second point, which is I do think that the world will change, not dramatically, but will change. And what will change is, if location wasn't important, it's going to be even less important, because what we're going to face is a massive digital acceleration. This example I just gave you tells you what we're going to have. And so what does this mean for us? This means two things. First, in terms of education, we have realized that digital will be very important, but it will not replace the presential learning. And so our campus, the return on investment on our campus is assured, because it's going to be a great way of attracting students to come and learn face-to-face with all the advantages of having this human warmth with them. And this is also very important for tourism. So tourism, as the Secretary of State was saying, tourism will boom in the coming years because people are dying. If you just look at the pictures of Israel, which is the first country to reach herd immunity through vaccination, everybody's out on the street. The bars are filled with people. even those that were using passports to control stopped using them because there's so many people out on the street. And so I think I'm expecting a big boom for tourism in Portugal, but because people want to be close to each other. And this also is important for education. So in the future, education will be presential, will be attracting more and more foreign students, but at the same time, digital will be a fundamental complement to the presential learning. But this brings us to another dimension, which is also important for Portugal. Digital nomads will boom. We're going to have more and more people who are going to move to places where it's great to live and work remotely and travel to them. This is, I think, the great opportunity post-pandemic for Portugal. Portugal is a great place, not just to visit for tourism, but it's a great place to live. We can attract many digital nomads that can relocate to Portugal, be based in Portugal, and either travel and run many of their meetings digitally. And so I do believe that if you look at the post-pandemic world, location will matter. And this is great because from a location perspective, Portugal is a tremendous opportunity. And the way we can actually enhance digital innovation to complement the location advantage that Portugal has, I think will be a wonderful new territory, a wonderful new blue ocean that the country can explore. And that I think we can explore it as a country, but we can also explore it as business, as innovators in the kind of innovation that we can create around us.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you all for your questions. We're now going to move on. Very briefly, in 10 minutes, I'm going to give you an overview of the program, so what we already accomplished so far, where we are, and what's ahead of us. First of all, I see lots of familiar faces on the screen, so we already met each other via Zoom calls, but this is actually the first time, so the first session where we are all together, so both startups and corporates. So far, what we did was to still in the end of last year to align 16 that now increased one figure, so 17 corporate partners, SMEs in this specific case, that help us to define the challenges of the CheckIn program. Then we began the scouting process. So we were scouting international for the best startups that have the solutions to fulfill the needs that were defined by our corporate partners. And by the beginning of February, essentially, we ended up the evaluation process, and we selected the top 20 startups that in the end are you guys. So congratulate you all for being here and for being selected as the best ones and the ones that have the best solutions for the tourism industry in the country. At the moment, we are in this matchmaking event. Although we call it an event, it's way more than that. In the end, it's a work session to create business opportunities for both the corporates and the startups involved. The goal of the program and of this specific 3 days is to arrive on Friday with proposals for development of pilot products being presented by the startups, and hopefully lots of them will be selected and will go through to the next stage. The partners will decide that in the end of the day 3. And then in the upcoming 11 weeks, we hopefully will see the co-development of these pilot products with the help, of course, of the entrepreneurship team of Nova SPE and all the mentors involved in the CheckIn. On the 17th of June, we end up our working sessions, and we will showcase the solutions developed to the academy, to the public in general, to other stakeholders of the industry, and also to potential investors in this field. And we all hope that it will happen already at our magnificent campus in Carcavelos. Just 2 quick remarks. Please show us who you are. For us, it's going to be easier during the 3 days of working sessions to know exactly who's online. So please edit your company or startup name plus your first and last name on your screens. And of course, leave your camera on whenever is possible so that we see each other's faces all the time. Just 3 recommendations for each of the days. For today, afterwards, you'll have the opportunity to listen to an inspiring talk on continuous innovation by Professor Nadim Habib. Joanna will introduce him in a while. But my recommendation goes for the sessions in the afternoon, in the end, when the actual work will begin. For the startups, please take notes after the presentations of the partners, because in the end, what they will do is to present their businesses, but more important than that, they will identify their innovation priorities. So they're going to give you guidelines to prepare you for the next day, for day 2, when the one-on-one meetings will take place. So the second day will be exclusive, dedicating to what we called the speed dating. In the end, we're going to have 4 sessions in the morning, 4 sessions in the afternoon, a total of 136 meetings happening during these 4 hours, half in the morning and half in the afternoon. And my recommendation for this day is, in the end, also especially for the startups, to be clear, showing your solution, and also came clean, came transparent in the sense that please tell the partner the constraints that you may have developing that solution alongside them, resources that we will need to allocate, resources that we will request the partner to allocate from his side, so that in the end, on the next day, when you show and when you present your pilot proposal development, there is no surprises and everyone is on the same page, so everyone knows what's in stake. The last day, the dynamics is a bit different. So on the third day, the ball now goes to the startup side. And what we'll do is that they will have 10-minute slots to present their proposals to the partners. So they may select 1, 2, or 3 partners, depending on the results of the meetings that they had on the previous day. So it's up to them to target 1 or more corporates. With the main goal at the end of the day, during the partners meeting, to decide the ones that will go through and that will be able to develop the solutions with the partners. The winner's announcement, the award in this case, the major award, it's to be able to have the opportunity to develop solutions alongside larger corporations on the tourism industry. But we're also going to have a side award for the best presentation in that day, for the best pitch, for the most innovative solution. That will be an executive course offered by Nova Forum executives, which is the XBA, Exponential Business Administration, exclusively online, being taught by Nova SBE and also with StartSe, in the partnership with StartSe. And this is essentially the dynamics of the 3 days. I'm just going to end up with a slide showing what will happen during the 11 weeks of co-development. So we, the Entrepreneurship Hub team, will be in permanent contact with you guys, so both startups and corporates, individually, to track the progress of the development. So more or less every 3 weeks, we'll reach out to you via email or via call just to see how we can help, if the progress is on track, if you need any type of conflict mediation or any type of mentorship that we can arrange to contribute to the results of the pilot. And then in the 17th of June, as I showed in the first slides, we'll all showcase what we've developed and what we accomplish during the 11 weeks of work. Thank you guys for being here, for listening to me, and quite excited to have you on board for today and for the next 2 days. Now I'm going to ask Joanna to introduce Professor Nadim Habib. So see you soon. I'm going to be your host. Anything you need, just please text me or Mariana. We'll be glad to help you out. Thank you, guys.
Hello everyone, it's my pleasure to introduce you Nadim Habib. Nadim is the first guest of CheckIn program, and he is here today because he is a professor in our school for entrepreneurship, innovation and strategy, and he's also an international consultant for big corporations and small companies, startups and other types of companies for the topics of innovation, strategy and also creativity. Nadim is here today because we really want him to share his experience and knowledge with you, and also because he has a unique way of making you looking at your business and question your strategies for the future and your goals for today and for the purpose of this program also. So Nadim, the stage is yours. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I didn't hear a word what Joanna was saying to me, so I hope it was nice and it was good. So quickly, my name's Nadim, and I'm here to talk to you about a few things for the next 40 minutes. And the first thing I want to share with you is this concept of lessons from the pandemic. Yeah? So if you're like me, it's been about 12 months since we went into lockdown. And though I know the tourism industry got hit worse than anybody else in the process, I think we can learn a bit about how other organizations have been dealing with it. I think lesson number one, which I'm hearing from many, many organizations, is that many of the changes they put into place to deal with the pandemic made sense before the pandemic. I mean, we're talking remote working, we're talking remote meetings, we're talking much more digital relationship with our customers, et cetera, et cetera. And we all accept that. And so the lesson number one, which I think is quite important to remember, is nobody wanted to change. It took a pandemic to force us to change stuff that made total sense in the way we were working before. And it tells us that we inherently don't like to change. Even the ones here in the session who say they love change, trust me, you don't want to change. You know, if you work for a big company and your financial department sends you an email saying we're changing the financial process, your first reaction is, oh God, here we go again. So you don't want to change, and please remember that nobody wants to change. The second lesson is quite good too, is that most people actually changed a lot faster and a lot easier than they thought. Okay, everybody's exhausted. I'm tired of being at home. I hate my kids. I want to sell them. But the reality is, what you've all done over the past year is work super fast, to adjust super fast, to adopt technology, adjust the way teams are functioning, to put things into practice. And I think the second lesson is we can actually change a lot easier than we think. So we have this great dichotomy to start with, is nobody wants to change, thinking it's difficult, but it's actually a lot easier than we think. And then we have the third lesson. The third lesson, I call it the January, February, March lesson. If you're anything like my friends, you are already exhausted in March. You know, you call people up in March, how are things? Oh God, I'm so tired, I'm burnt out. And you're like, dude, you've still got 9 months of the year left over. How can you be tired? Oh God, I'm so tired, you know, all day on Zoom and calls and whatever. And why is that? And I think if it's probably because you sent those WhatsApp messages in December that said, you know, I'm so tired of 2020. Thank God it's 2021. Let's move forward. We're tired of the year. But nobody told COVID, so it came along, and we got hit by 2021, going nothing's really. Oh my God, I'm exhausted. And I think the third lesson is, why are we exhausted? Because although we might talk about the new normal, I don't think any of us have normalized it. We're still waiting to go back. And so to a great extent, we've been in this change process for 12 months, pretending that it's temporary and that we're going to go back. And when you work in a temporary phase, you're tense. This is like moving into your friend's apartment while you're fixing your own. And so you don't want to make any major decisions because you're going to go back, right? And we're all waiting to move back to our apartment when, in essence, the world has changed. And so I think the third lesson is that when you start a change process, you need to normalize it. You need to make it normal, because if not, people will burn out as they go through the whole process. And so these are three lessons, and people say to me, Nadim, you know, we had a very difficult year with the pandemic. I agree, but you know what? I don't remember anybody in 2019 telling me, oh, things are so great, I got so much free time, I'm so relaxed, I have all this time to do anything I want. Actually, when I talked to people in 2019, I was hearing things like this: we're burning out, I don't know what to do, I'm so stressed. You know, I was going to start selling t-shirts in 2019 that said, when things calm down. Because what I kept hearing people saying is, yeah, this is really important, when things calm down. And the fact is, I've been hearing this since 1991, so things never really calm down. People are really stressed. And actually, if you look at the data coming out of multiple countries, and this is an interesting graph, do not lean in, I will zoom it in for you, don't worry. Industries and professions that work hardest in the world, here's the zoom in. The good news is, or the bad news is, the profession that works longest in the world and hardest in the world are what we call managers. Welcome to the interesting fact. The interesting fact is, in the US, over 70% of people in management functions were reporting 40+ working weeks, and 30% 45-hour+ working weeks. And you can say to me, oh, but I don't mind working hard once in a while. And I'll say, yeah, I don't mind you working hard once in a while either. My problem is, it's like a chronic disease. It's like diabetes. You're constantly working hard. You're having a hard time getting out of that box. And so I think it's really important we have a conversation first about what was already broken before the pandemic and what is it we want to try to do as we move things forward. Why is it that organizations were struggling to actually get traction and make money and drive decision making in the right way? So let's go back to the basics. Yeah, I teach at a business school. We're a business school. We teach management. And so the first lesson we always have to ask people is, why do we need managers? And it's a guy's question, because most managers ask the same question of themselves. There is a bit of an identity crisis in management. If you've ever seen the show called The Office, you'll know that we have challenges understanding why we need managers. But here's the good news. You've heard the concept of purpose. Most managers I know, and most of you in this session, have a sense of purpose. You might have felt the sense of purpose during the pandemic. What is the purpose of management? Well, what we all know is that most managers feel a sense of purpose, which is to contribute to what I call the survival of the firm. We kind of feel that it's our job to help our firm survive. We contribute to this survival of the firm, and that is great, and that is why we exist. And why is that? Because typically our firm is subject to pressure from three big groups of stakeholders. This for existing firms. If you're a startup, it's coming. Trust me, it's coming one day. Yeah, your first ones are shareholders, and what do they want from you? Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Shareholders want profits. Yes, but what we forget to tell people is shareholders don't only want profits. They want profits with high predictability. If you work in an established firm, you know your shareholder will say to you, what's your budget for next year? And what we can't forget is that a budget for next year is essentially me giving you high predictability. In next year, I will deliver this result to you. Okay? The second thing is employees and new talent. What do they want? And yep, well done, you can see my slide. What employees and talent want is money. Yes, they do. They want decent salaries, they want a nice laptop when they join, they want to take that photo when they join a company that says, welcome, here's your MacBook Pro, here's your cool logo, and here's a backpack, and here's a kit and a token for a massage, because we all want those things, yeah? But they want something else. And although, you know, more people in my generation say people want stability, they don't want stability. Nobody wants the same job every day for the rest of their lives. What they want is predictability. You know, we at Nova, we see this a lot in our job fair. We have this job fair, companies come along, they put up a stand, they say, please apply to join our company. And our students ask the simple question. If I join your company, what can I expect in 5 years? And if you're like me, you know what the honest answer is. The honest answer is, how the hell am I supposed to know? 5 years, kid? I have no idea what's going to happen in 5 years. But we don't say that. We say if everything goes well, within 2 years you can be promoted to sub-director, then everything goes well within 3 years. So what we do is we give people predictability. Now, if you'll start to notice this, what do your clients want, or your partners? Yep, they want money. Customers want more for less, all the time, all the time, all the time. They want better discounts, more people in the call center, more people picking up the phone, more people in the meeting. They want more, 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 and they also want high predictability. They want to know when you're delivering. And so in essence, what we do know is that managers are under huge amounts of pressure because on the one hand, they have to deliver profits, which they need to distribute between shareholders, talent, and their customers. But at the same time, they need to promise predictability to all these three groups. You know, and it's one of those things, I hope never happens to you, that what happens to an individual when they promise predictability in times of turbulence is they suffer tremendously. Let me give you an example. I hope this never happens. Imagine your kid falls, hits their head, and goes to the hospital, does a CAT scan, and the doctor says, we need to analyze it overnight. Tomorrow morning, we'll give you the result. Now, if you're like any other parent, your kid lies in bed, looks at you and says, Mom, Dad, am I gonna be all right? And what do we say? Because we're good parents, we say, of course you are, you're gonna be fine. And what we've just done is give our kids high predictability, and then how do we sleep? Yeah, we don't. Welcome to the world of management. When you promise predictability to people, in times of turbulence, you absorb huge amounts of uncertainty, and that creates enormous pressure, which is why we started seeing words such as resilience and strength start to show up in the management discourse. Because what we've realized is there's been a huge change. 40 years ago, 30 years ago, that tells you my age, yeah? When I did business plans back in the 90s, early 90s, we had high predictability. It was like you'd start your business plan with a discussion of the GDP. You'd say GDP will grow 4%, so we will grow 4%. You all look pretty young, but some might remember the days when I was younger, when every year in January, salaries were increased, every year in January, prices were increased. The world was nice and predictable from a business perspective. In the past 20 years, forget about it. We have no predictability. If you think you have predictability in your world, just tell me which one of you got Brexit right, got the US elections right, got the pandemic right. I guess nobody, right? So clearly we have enormous turbulence around us. But it does mean that when we deal with our job as management, and this is typically what we see in established firms, we have two things to do. We have to drive sustainable improvements in profitability. I have to do this now. And I also have to address uncertainty and all its consequences. That's the second thing I have to do. In essence, what I often say is a typical firm has to deliver results today while it prepares the organization for tomorrow. And what we do know from most companies is they probably spent 95% of their time doing one and 5% of their time doing two, which is why we're struggling. We haven't been good at preparing the organization for tomorrow. And I think this event here and this project is one of the examples of how we're trying to rethink the way people connect to do that second part of the organization. Deliver results today, but also prepare for tomorrow. Now, if I talk about delivering results today, what you'll notice is that driving results today or profitability typically comes along from something we call productivity. Now, what is productivity? You have a nice little fraction here. It's production per hour over cost per hour. So what you'll notice is that productivity is how much we produce for every hour of work compared to how much it costs for every hour of work. And what we've noticed over the past 20 or 30 years is there's been a change in the way we drive productivity. Back in the 80s and 90s, we drove productivity through level 1, as you see on my slide, which is we used to hit labor cost. The whole journey was about reducing labor cost by introducing technology to reduce labor cost. So in the 80s, we removed most of the people in the accounting department because we got Excel. We removed the typist because we got Word. We started bringing technology in to do the cost side. We were squeezing cost, labor cost specifically was doing things. But you know what? We ran out of steam around 2000. Why? Because we couldn't do it anymore, so we started squeezing salaries. It's not by chance that in tourism we tend to see very low salaries across the board, because what we're trying to do is squeeze productivity out through the cost side, and it's not sustainable. We're having enormous difficulties doing it. The irony of the hotel business in 2019 was everybody told me they had a hard time finding people. There's not enough people who want to work in hotels. I can't recruit people. And I had to say, no, there's a lot of people who want to work in hotels, just not for the salaries you're paying. And I think this is the big challenge. Yeah, so typically seeking productivity improvement by cutting costs was not functioning anymore. Around the 90s, 2000, we started having a different logic where, my arrow 2 there, which is very much about this concept of productivity is driven by making sure my people spend their time in the right place. So they won't spend their time doing things that are useless. And here, I hate to beat up on the hotel business because it's suffering, but oh my God, do we have a lot of work to do here. Let me tell you some functions I love about hotels. Not. Things I don't understand why hotels still are doing. Check-in. I don't know anybody here who loves check-in. Nobody goes, ooh, I love check-in. I love standing behind 40 people waiting to get my room. This is something I love to do. I can get on a damn plane without having to talk to somebody, but for a hotel room, I have to queue up, get a passport, take a photocopy, sign a piece of paper, get my credit card. Come on. Second thing I hate, checkout. Oh yeah, I've got to pay, I was in Porto last year when Liverpool was playing, and I was trying to check out, and there was like 80 people in front of me, and all I had to do was pay €5 of parking. Come on, give me a break. What am I doing here? Why can't I do this online? I don't understand why we haven't made those choices, and I don't know many people who have a headcount dream or career dream to be a senior check-in manager. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do the job. The client doesn't want it. But my favorite person in a hotel that I don't understand is the person checking room numbers for breakfast. I don't understand why you would waste a whole head count to say room number, chick. Come on, you're kidding me. What are you, afraid people are going to walk off the street to steal your bread? If you really want to check room number, there's technology to do it. You don't have to waste head counts on that. So I think there's huge progress to be made in that area. But the key, I think, that we've all started to understand is that the future productivity improvements are coming from my bullet number 3. Increasing production. In hotel businesses, moving from 3-star to 4-star, but it basically means selling more at higher prices for each customer interaction. And that is the big change we felt over the past 30 years. The productivity improvements of the 80s and 90s were very much CFO driven, cost driven. Let's save costs, let's save costs, let's save costs. The future productivity improvements are coming from the customer side. It's all about how do I extract more value from my customers more times during the year. I need to charge them more, better, and higher. It's not by chance that the most productive companies today, from Farfetch to Facebook to Google, are all one thing in common. They are obsessed about their customer ownership. They don't care so much about their cost structure. It's about owning the customer and extracting value from the customer. It also means a shift in the type of management we have. From a manager who knows all about their costs, to a manager who knows all about their operation, to a manager who knows all about their customers. Think about it. If I had online check-in in a hotel, the hotel could propose me to pre-book my dinners in the hotel, therefore capturing me for future clients. It could ask me if I want to book a visit to a museum and take a commission off that. The whole shift means that instead of the asset base of the hotel being its rooms, it becomes its customers. By driving customer traffic, by selling more to customers, it makes more money, drives it forward, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see how we can see the changes that are happening even in tourism somewhere else. But all this is not happening in a vacuum. Not only are we changing inside, but our markets are changing. Yeah? And the first thing we have to accept over the past 30 years is that we're dealing with customers that are very different. They are a lot smarter and they're a lot more annoying. Okay, I don't know, this is the US, and you'll notice, this is higher education in the US, and you'll notice how it goes exponential, yeah? You'll see the same thing in Portugal in the 90s, you'll see the same thing in the UK in the 80s. When you have much more education, you have much more intelligent customers. And I don't know what you think about intelligent customers, but they can be a real pain, yeah? I know, look at my kids. My 13-year-old is a more demanding customer than I ever was. You know, she dropped her phone the other day, and we went to get it fixed in Vorten, here in Portugal, and you know, she hands it in, and I pay, and the guy says, okay, it'll be ready tomorrow. Now, this is a 5 p.m. He says it'll be ready tomorrow at 10 a.m. For me, my age, hey, that's pretty cool. My daughter turns around and says, but you say here you'll fix it in the same hour. And the guy says, yeah, we're a lot of traffic. And she goes, can I have my phone back then, please? She thought it was unacceptable that these guys could not do what they promised to do. Now think about my generation. Yeah, we're fine with that. These are the new customers coming in. They're incredibly demanding. So not only are we changing as a business to focus towards customers, but our customers are becoming incredibly demanding. I am. You know, I hate having to have a Wi-Fi password in a hotel. I mean, honestly, really, what are you afraid of? Some kid outside is going to steal your network? Come on, do I have to really type in with my fat fingers a password on my phone? Why isn't it just easy to connect? You know, small things that we see continuously through this stuff. The second big change is what I like to call digital globalization. What we do know is that digital is all cool and exciting, but it's actually changed the infrastructure of competition in the market. So before digital, what we used to have was companies were divided into big companies and small companies. Yeah, you've all been there. In Portugal, you call them PMEs and grandes, yeah? The big companies and small companies. And what we used to say was the following. Big companies compete on standardization and scale. I'll give you an example. Think about a shop that sells suits. So if I'm selling suits, if I'm a big company, the first thing I do is I standardize the sizes of suits. I go 40, 42, 44, 46, and that's the sizes I have available to my customer. If you're a 41.5, choose one. You're going to have to deal with it, yeah? And then I try to build scale. Why? Because the bigger scale I get, the lower cost I get, and so I get better cost to my customer. On the side, across the street many times, was the tailor. Now the tailor used to say, listen, I don't standardize scale. I build to design just for you. I personalize just for you. So if you're a 41.67, that's the suit you're going to get, and I'm going to deliver it to you Saturday morning. And for decades, the tailor said, I don't compete with the shop. And the shop said, I don't compete with the tailor. Until we got this digital globalization movement. And suddenly we've got this. Suddenly, one person, if you guys have one apartment in Lisbon, you have the scale to compete with every hotel in Lisbon. This has never happened before. You suddenly have a scale you never got before, and it doesn't cost you any fixed cost. You don't have to invest $3 million in infrastructure. You just pay a percentage of your revenue. That's it. Through variable cost, you gain scale. Now, before this, before Airbnb, for you to compete with every hotel in Lisbon, you need to have ads in every newspaper in the UK, you need to have a call center, you need to have people answering the phones. It was really difficult for you to get scale. So now the small are attacking the big in ways we've never seen before. But at the same time, the big are personalizing. You now have banks having mass personalization, who know exactly who you are, what you want, when you want it, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why we're seeing this whole revamp of legacy systems and CRM systems, because we're starting to understand customers want personalization and scale and speed. They want it all, and we have to do this. Huge opportunities, but a second level of change we're dealing with, yeah? And so I think all of us, before the pandemic, we're already dealing with three big dimensions of change. One, in the way we improve our productivity, which went from a very cost-driven thing to a top-line growth. Yeah, it's great if I can save you 5% of costs, but can you bring me 20% more revenue? That's what I'm looking for these days. The second is from this concept of a very product-focused market. Listen, I have a product, standardized, I'm going to sell it to you. To much more customer centricity, I'm going to design around you. It's for you I'm designing it, not for anything else. And finally, in the way our world is changing, hey, I don't need to say this anymore, the pandemic was a classic example, from highly predictable to accelerating turbulence. And there's no coincidence that even before the pandemic, we were hearing people talking about we need to be more adaptive. We need to be more, able to adapt to change. How do we do that, et cetera, et cetera. Especially larger organizations were frustrated because they felt slow, and they started using terms like we need to be more agile, we need to adjust quicker, we need to move quicker. Before I go back to this, just want to take a pause here, because at the same time, we started hearing everybody talk about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has become hugely visible over the past decade. If you go back 40 years, nobody at our university wanted to be an entrepreneur. Typically, if you go back to the 80s and 90s, the only people who wanted to be entrepreneurs was the guys who couldn't get a job. That was kind of the way it worked. If you can't get a job, you set up your own business. These days, most of our students reflect that they want to have an entrepreneurial option in their careers. So I think what I'd like to stop here and just go back and say, why is this happening? But first of all, what is entrepreneurship? And so when we look at entrepreneurship, when we ask ourselves, what is it? Typically what I like to say to people, it's about people taking risks, it's about people dreaming big. And I get that. We have to have this narrative around it because it's not the most rational thing to do. Don't take this personally, guys. Anybody here who has entrepreneurial ambitions, it's not rational. It doesn't make sense. Especially because basically what you're doing is you're taking huge risks in return for what? But what we do know is this, and from my perspective, entrepreneurship for me is people who capitalize on opportunities that have arisen from failure. Now, what do I mean by that? We can look at it and say, Uber, great opportunity. Uber was great, very creative and disruptive. I don't buy it. For me, Uber basically took advantage of the fact that taxis have been failing us for decades. As soon as we had Google Maps, as soon as we had GPS, as soon as we had Maps, as soon as we had Google Pay, Apple Pay, et cetera, any taxi company in the world should have done better. They didn't. What's changed with Uber? Simply, I get a cab when I want it, I know where it's going, I don't have to have cash in my pocket, and I can download a receipt. That's not hugely disruptive. That's just a taxi with better service. What happens is taxis before were failing, and somebody took advantage of it. You look at Airbnb, and people give me all kinds of stories of why. I have my story of why I started using Airbnb, because I realized that I don't use Airbnb when I travel on my own, and I don't use Airbnb when I travel with my wife. The only time I use Airbnb is when I travel with my kids. And it's not because I don't like my kids, it's because when I travel with my kids, I discovered that hotels have no idea how to deal with us. The best they can do is give me 2 rooms. Now, I don't know if you guys have traveled with 3 kids under 12 in 2 rooms, because my logic is the kids sleep in 1 room, the parents sleep in another, but my wife's Portuguese, so she says no, because this other hotel room has a door to the street and a mini bar with vodka. We can't leave the kids alone, so I will sleep with 2 kids, you sleep with 1. Now, if you've been through that, try doing that for 7 days, okay? It's hell on wheels, me sleeping with my 7-year-old child. And then my 7-year-old child wakes up at 5 in the morning and says, I'm hungry. And the hotel says, we only start serving breakfast from 7:30. And then at 6 p.m., my kid says, I'm hungry, and the hotel dinner only opens at 8. And I'm thinking, Jesus, I'm paying for this? So Airbnb, for me, became simply an opportunity from failures from hotels. Hotels don't fail me when I travel alone. Hotels don't fail me when I travel with my wife, but they do when I travel with my kid. And so these are examples of how we need to look at entrepreneurship. It's not that these people have great ideas. They do, but it's that these people see failure when other people see normalcy. It's my daughter saying they should fix my phone in an hour when I think it's normal they take 24 hours. These are the things we need to look at. We need to understand that the exciting thing about entrepreneurs is they see failure when most of us don't see it. And if they are right, oh my God, they're going to catch a huge opportunity moving forward. Now, there's two types of failures, really. It's when existing customers are less, when existing businesses don't satisfy customers. I get that. That's the type of entrepreneurs you get that say, we're just going to make a better restaurant. But the one that's interesting to me is always, it's when existing businesses don't see the changes that allow us to do better. When Uber came to Portugal, it was funny because I was in a debate with somebody from the I think it's called Antram at the time, the taxi association. I can't remember its exact name. And they were complaining that Uber was unfair, etc. And I said, Jesus, you've known for 3 years they were coming. What would have taken you to build an app that does the same thing? I know where the taxi is, I can pay online, and I download the receipt. That's not difficult. It wouldn't have taken you a lot. At the time I talked to somebody at Nova Buzz and they said, maybe 80,000 euros for an app like that. 80,000 euros, there are 14,000 taxis in Portugal. We're averaging 5 to 6 euros per person. That was it. 5 euros per person, and they might have had something to evolve to make their customers happier, but they chose not to. And I think this is the danger, and why entrepreneurship for me is exciting, is it shows how we should be moving. Now, the second thing I think that comes up in any of these conversations is, why is there so much of it around? Why is it so popular, as they say? And I think the reason it's so much around is there's 2 or 3 reasons. The first thing is, it's never been as easy to start a business as it is these days. Okay? If I wanted to start a business in 1980, the first thing we used to think about is we need an office and we need a fixed phone. And if we have a fixed phone in an office, we need somebody to answer the phone. The cost to enter the business was tough. I was talking to a Brazilian entrepreneur who was very successful in the 90s. And he says, Nadim, in the 90s, if I wanted a meeting with somebody in New York, I'd have to send them a letter. And they'd never answer. If I wanted to call them, it would cost me a day's salary. If I wanted to fly, it would cost me 3 months' salary. These days, you reach out on Instagram. Come on, it's never been easier to reach out and touch people. And I think whoever's working in a startup environment, please respect that. It's easy to get it started. What's difficult is to get it right. And I think this is why these conversations between startups and existing firms are so important. I think the second issue is, there has never been more failure than before. If we accept that everybody's smarter, that the world is changing much quicker, you're going to get a lot more failure. And if you get a lot more failure, you get a lot more startups, because what's going to happen is they see failure, they adjust, they adopt, and they move forward. And I think we're seeing this time and time again. I remember chatting a lot to one of the founders of Citizen M, the Dutch hotel chain, a few years ago, and he was saying, Nadim, what we noticed was that what hotels were providing customers, they didn't want. And so what we started to do is we realized that hotels were failing their customers. Customers did not want a big room, especially European customers who travel in Europe. They don't want a big room. They don't want a big imposing lobby. They don't want a restaurant that has a schedule. They want 24-hour buffet. They want small rooms. They want super fast internet, and they want to get in and get out as quickly as possible. That's huge to see in terms of how we can pivot to do that kind of stuff. And then we have a third conversation, which I think is important. Ooh, I think I just did something here. Guys, can you guys help me? I screwed up my presentation. Then we have old people using tech, which is never easy. But hey, I'm not old, I'm experienced. There we go. Thank you very much. All right. The third thing I think that's important, and that's why I think this initiative is so interesting, is what is the main driver of all this is something called change. Your idea is great, I get it. You have a great idea, I get it. But really what's important is to have a conversation about what has changed to make your idea so relevant. Because if I don't know what's changed, then I don't know why now. Why now? Why not before? Something must have changed. What's changed in the past 5 years to make this so relevant? It could be technology, it could be something else. And why? Because if we look at the other side of the world to establish businesses, how does innovation work? And it's the same kind of parallel. So typically what you tend to get is, imagine you work in a stable organization with good results. Yeah? So you work in a company that's producing decent results, you're making decent profits, et cetera, et cetera. What you'll start to see is there will be a tendency among managers there to get organized. Don't take this personally, but this concept of we need to get organized is something we all do. Yeah, we need to get organized, we need to get things. So we start to focus on efficiency and results, on rules and organization, on procedures and manuals. But what slowly starts to happen is the structure starts to become introverted. When I talk to a lot of fast-moving consumer goods companies and I ask them, how much time do you spend in shops looking at customers, many times the answer is, I don't have time for it. I got too many meetings. I'm like, dude, that's your job. If you don't have time to look out, you're not doing your job. But we create all these processes that means that people become introverted. And then one day the world changes. And this company doesn't notice the world has changed because it's too busy in its processes and procedures and Excel spreadsheets and etc. And what it does feel, however, are the symptoms of change. Typically, your sales start to get difficult. You have a hard time closing deals. You start getting more exceptions to your rules, more problems coming up, more errors, more failures. Profitability becomes a problem. And finally, motivation, recruitment, and retention of people becomes even more difficult. And though you might say, these are my problems, I would hesitate and say, these are probably the symptoms of the fact that something has changed and you don't know what it is. And you need to find out what has changed. Typically, the brew hour on the top, this is what I see in most companies I work with. Instead of having a conversation about change, you throw more resources at the problems. You say, oh, let's create a task force to deal with this problem, and we're going to create even more rules. And then suddenly one day, you have so disconnected from your market that the only way you can keep selling is by cutting price. Price becomes important, and you go into this beautiful cycle where price, then cost, then price, then cost, and one day you've completely disconnected and you spiral out. When in the end, the key is for the organization to understand the change, to adapt to it, and to innovate. Now, you can say we do that. I don't think most people would deny they do that. But here's where the interesting connection between entrepreneurship and established businesses comes in. What entrepreneurs to a great extent are doing is they're seeing change probably before you can. And so the connection here becomes fascinating because we have the ability to extract value from processes. They have the ability to see change before we do. And it's that combination that I think that makes the magic happen. And so in terms of what I recommend people to do these days is always to think about how can we expand our ecosystem? How can I, as an organization, ensure that we are sensitive enough to understand where change is happening, aware of what to do about it? You look at a company like Toys R Us. Toys R Us is an interesting case because I think to a great extent, the changes that hit them came maybe, you might know this, Toys R Us declared bankruptcy a few years ago. But if you go back 20 years, you'll see the change that in the end killed them was 20 years ago. If you ask people, why did Toys R Us fail? They will say things like, oh, Amazon, the internet. I don't disagree. But here's the point. Toys R Us, Staples, all these companies were part of a management system that was developed in the 80s and 90s, which we call category killers. So the idea is, I dominate a category, make it toys. I build huge scale in that category, so I got lots of shops across the world, because that allows me to get the cheapest prices from the factories, which allows me to charge the cheapest prices to my customers. So when Toys R Us opens up in a city, they dram prices down, they kill all the small toy stores, and then once the toy stores, all the competition is dead, they raise prices again. So you have this beautiful model where you have low cost, high prices with no competition. It's wonderful, very typical of the 80s and 90s in terms of corporate strategy, category killers. So what killed them? It wasn't the internet. It wasn't. The whole point of Toys R Us was they knew that in toys, 60 to 70% of sales happen at Christmas time. So your annual sales budget is going to be made in 4 months. And so the question is, how do you prepare for that? Well, what they used to do is they used to prepare Christmas in February. So in February, they would order toys from factories in China to be sold at Christmas. And you ask yourself, well, how did they know the kids wanted it? I mean, how could you guess what kids want? Okay, back to my age group, people. My age group, my kids, when they were small, We only had 4 channels of TV, okay? So what we basically knew was that my kids were sitting in front of the TV every afternoon at a certain time, and Saturday and Sunday mornings. It was like the babysitter, right? You'd get up, stick your kid in front of the TV, go back to bed, and at least for a couple of hours you could have some sanity. If you don't have kids yet, it's coming. Good luck. But what Toys R Us knew is by hitting those channels with advertising, they could reach 60 to 70% of children in the country. Which means that when my daughter saw an ad saying Barbie horse, and Daddy came down and said, what do you want for Christmas? She said Barbie horse. I'd go to Toys R Us, a whole stack of Barbie horse. I'm a great dad, she's a happy kid, everybody's great. What changed? I look at my youngest kid today. My youngest kid today doesn't watch TV. You know, my youngest kid is on his tablet, he's on his laptop, he's watching Twitch, he's watching YouTube, he's watching Netflix. The other day, I was waiting for a football match to start, and he sat next to me, and there was like 5 minutes before the game, and he says, what are you waiting for? I'm like, for it to start. He's like, why don't you forward it? I'm like, no, you don't get it. It hasn't started yet. I have to wait for it to start. He's like, Dad, then go do something else. This is the reality. They don't see ads. And as soon as Toys R Us loses its ability to influence our kids, their whole model fails. Because my kid, I asked him what he wants for Christmas. He wants merch. He wants merchandise from some gamer who's got a YouTube channel, etc., etc. I go to Toys R Us, my kid's like, I don't want anything here. This is the change we're seeing in the world. And so, to a great extent, what you have to admit is that Toys R Us was so obsessed with this business model, it was looking at a very narrow ecosystem, not understanding how the broader ecosystem would change things. And I think these are opportunities when we talk to startups and established firms to broaden our ecosystems and look beyond. I think, you know, the first thing we need to do is to stretch our horizon, except that many times we are too focused on the short run. If you look at most established firms and I ask them, what is the long run for you? They will say next Friday, maybe the summer, that's it. And if I say, what change is going to impact your business in 2 to 3 years? They'll say, yeah, I know about that, but I'm not interested. It's not about that. It's about, are you working and connecting to organizations that are already working in the front, that are already pushing the envelope, and they might fail, they might not succeed, but they might show you what change is happening. On the other hand, if you're a startup, are you looking at what your potential customers or potential suppliers are needing today? Because if you don't, you are also very limiting your horizon. So I think these connecting moments are important because they allow you to understand how you can think beyond your horizon to understand how change can impact your business. I think the second thing, and again, I think I've screwed up my slides here, is you need to align it with your strategy. What I find fascinating is how most companies don't understand what strategy is. This is not an insult. If you ask people what is a strategy, they'll say strategy is a plan. I get it. It's a long-term plan. I get it as well. It's a long-term plan with initiatives. Yep. It's a long-term plan with initiatives and metrics and objectives. Cool. But we've forgotten 2 things. 1, it's a plan to deal with change. If things don't change, you don't need a strategy, okay? You just repeat what you did last year. So change is an essential component of strategy, and that is why strategy involves looking at what's happening outside us and in front of us. It is not by chance that when we talk about leaders who are very strategic, we call them visionaries. You are seeing something that others don't. The second point we forget to tell people is that strategy is not only a plan to deal with change, it is also the way we connect with other people. By explaining our strategy to others, they understand who we are and can connect with us better. And what we find is that organizations without strategies have enormous difficulty in making partnerships and collaborating because there is no long-term strategy to connect to. It's very tactical, very short run. Oh, I need this to save money. That doesn't build rich partnerships. So again, first, expand the horizon. Second, align it with your strategy. And then finally, be agile. And when I mean be agile, it doesn't mean be fast. It's be able to adapt very quickly to when things change. When we talk about being agile, it's about being experimental. It's about accepting that whatever I do might not be perfect, might not be exactly the way I want it, but will make me move forward. You know, to paraphrase Obama, it's not about perfect, it's about better. It's about getting better than last year, not about building perfection. And I think in that sense, what we find is established companies have a harder time to be agile because they're too worried about optimization. They're too worried about perfection. And so my appeal here to established organizations is instead of trying to build a budget that is perfect, use what we call the affordable loss principle. Ask yourself, what can we afford to lose here? And if that affordability is there, we say, hey, let's do it and move forward. And finally, take on a scientific mindset. If you look at most scientists, what they tend to work is this concept of building a hypothesis and then testing it. For a scientist, confirming a hypothesis or denying a hypothesis are both great outcomes because I learned something. That's positive. For a scientist, a bad outcome is when I don't answer it. Most entrepreneurs, I feel, are too biased towards confirming their hypothesis instead of being biased towards learning. And this is where they need to reconnect in and to be agile in the sense that I'm doing this because I want to learn more about what I'm doing, I can afford it, and I want to keep building that learning curve because I'm still digesting change and my position in the market. Everything I shared with you today, is it easy? No. You know, somebody once said to me, Nadim, it's easy to talk, and I like to joke back and say, yep, which is why I chose my profession, which is talking. And other people choose their profession, which is doing. I don't do, I talk. Yeah, so you can take it as a pinch of salt, but from my experience, the people who do succeed are the people who do these things. And just to close off a quote that I've loved for many years from Hemingway, I think it's from The Old Man and the Sea, written in 1926, where one guy declares bankruptcy, and his friends ask him, how did you go bankrupt? And he says, 2 ways, gradually and then suddenly. Here's the problem. Startups tend to think suddenly. Established firms tend to think gradually. The point is this, it's the combination of both that makes sense. It's by doing stuff gradually, continuously, that one day suddenly you're successful. It's not one genius idea. It's discipline and focus that you build as you move things forward. So guys, during your program here, here's my suggestion. Do it gradually so that suddenly you see the light. Thank you very much for your attention, and I think I have like 5 minutes for questions or not, Antonio? Yes, they're telling me I do. If anybody has any questions, hold on, I'm supposed to put these things in my ear or comments. If not, I'll just go home. I can't hear anything.
Maybe you can put the higher volume on the...
Shall I put the higher volume? Okay, nobody's saying anything. All right, cool. Guys, good luck with your program. Is that it? Yes? And good luck with everything.
Thank you so much, Nadim, for this great talk. So we have finished a little bit ahead of schedule. We will have a larger lunch break. We will meet again here at 2 p.m. And thank you so much for being here with us during the morning. We hope you are enjoying. See you at 2 p.m. So see you soon. Thank you.